Azerbaijani member of parliament and the chairperson of its Committee on Foreign and Interparliamentary Relations. He joins us now from Baku. Thank you so much for being with us. How much do you actually fear the potential descent now into all-out war? I mean, which wouldn't just involve Armenia and Azerbaijan, but likely various global powers as well.
Thank you very much for having me today. And of course, the statement made by three leaders of the major power in the world. And I think our involvement in negotiation process for almost 30 years was a clear demonstration of our commitment to peace, while Armenia was trying to keep the status quo of the conflict. And if we are looking for the real peace, we should understand the causes of this problem. And the causes of this problem we can find within two major problems. The first one, occupation and occupant forces in Azerbaijan. And this is the major problem, which we had and which we have. This is, should be fine, should be a withdrawal from Azerbaijan. The second, very problematic and very important point, that last year, the leadership of Armenia made several provocations, which blow up the situation. And that's why when leaders of the superpowers appeal to the both sides to find the peace, first of all, they should think who created this situation, who blew up the region, who occupied the territories, who created the provocation, who made the negotiation process as an impossible within this current situation. And that's why, of course, we are ready for peace, but we are ready if occupant forces from Armenia immediately should be leave and withdrawal from Azerbaijan.
Why do you think, I mean, help us understand why Nagorno-Karabakh was left as a so-called frozen conflict for so long, when the international community recognizes it as Azerbaijani territory, it recognizes that it is occupied by Armenian forces. Why was it allowed to fester like that for so many decades?
This is paradox. Actually, United Nations adopted 4 resolutions for immediate withdrawal Armenian military forces from Azerbaijan. Council of Europe in 2005 adopted resolution 1416 exactly about that. And Azerbaijan, with patience, with will and constructive approach, taking part in these negotiations. But unfortunately, Armenian populist leadership of Armenia, which came to power, tried to change completely the situation. They tried to keep the status quo. They used different kind of provocations. And as a result of that, situation is absolutely different than it was a couple of months before. Because the Prime Minister Pashinyan said, for example, that Nagorno-Karabakh is Armenia. In this case, the sense of negotiations is disappeared. And from this point of view, we should understand, in this case, that's very difficult to negotiate with those who are not ready to accept the suggestions of co-chairs. And that's why the leaders of the superpowers should understand that the cause of the problem, not within Azerbaijan, but within those who occupied my land.
Okay, but you mentioned the populist leadership, as you describe it, of Armenia. Do you think that really is what it is, or is it more to do with some Russian influence? Because there are some involved actually in the Minsk process that have said Nikol Pashinyan was negotiating well with Azerbaijan, that there was close to an agreement coming to the fore until they suspect Russia came in and provoked the Armenian leadership to do what they're doing now.
Actually, Prime Minister Pashinyan is trying to involve third parties in this region, in this conflict. He tried to present absolutely false information about relationship between Turkey and Azerbaijan. At the same time, he tried to appeal to security organization and tried to involve Russia in the region. And that's why his aim, his objective to involve third parties into the region and to blow up the situation. Why he is doing this provocation? Because situation within Armenia is very complicated, because he promised to his nation a lot of promises which he is not able to accomplish, which he's not able to do. And that's why the war, provocation, and new very difficult situation in the region, that's a way out from the deadlock where he is. And that's why we are, Azerbaijan, an international community, became hostages of the provocation which Mr. Pashinyan tried to implement. And that's why the international community should understand that today we are in front of the real provocation, because Azerbaijan always in favor of peace and taking part in all initiatives which presented by the leaders. And now when three superpowers made a statement, we again said, okay, we are ready, but you should understand that still occupied forces will be in Azerbaijan. The problem will be unresolved. That's why before these negotiations, we should find a way to withdraw occupant forces from Azerbaijan. And in this case, peace, stability, and prosperity will come to the region.
Okay. A few things I wanted to unpack with you before we run out of time, but one of them being, do you think Armenia somehow might be taking, I don't know, some sort of inspiration from what they saw in Kosovo, and that somehow they can convince the international community to back a state of Armenia within the state of Azerbaijan? Really, because it's difficult to understand how they think logistically taking Nagorno-Karabakh would work, especially if it's within the confines of Azerbaijan. They would have to build infrastructure to get from Azerbaijan, from Armenia, roads directly through Azerbaijani territory in order to access this occupied state that they seem to want to create now, independently of Azerbaijan. I'm trying to understand how Armenia thinks this is actually going to work, unless they want to take all of the territory they have occupied in Azerbaijan.
That's the question, because on the table, during the negotiations, we have a lot of suggestions from those who are responsible for the resolution of this conflict. From the co-chairs. But unfortunately, now Armenia not only to think about some suggestions, they try to keep all occupied territories. Nagorno-Karabakh, which already occupied, plus 7 adjust districts of Azerbaijan. And they try to change the format of negotiations. They try to blow up all things which already done by co-chairs. And that's why, if we're looking for peace, we should understand that those who are illegally occupied territories and thinking in a way fait accompli, they are not able to come to the constructive approach. That's why Azerbaijan started this operation, which is, I think, very important for not only Azerbaijan, for the rest of the world, because Azerbaijani soldiers today try to restore international law in this part of the world. And that's why this operation is a very, very good example that if international community is able to understand the position of Azerbaijan, not only in Azerbaijan, all over the world, and in other parts, including Europe, will be peace and prosperity, and the problems which we have today with occupied territories in the Europe and in other parts of the world will be able to resolve.
Okay. Do you think, though, the international community will continue, as it has, at the very least, to just recognize that this is indeed Azerbaijani territory? Or do you fear that the community could actually turn its back on Azerbaijan and somehow concede to what Armenia's demands are at present?
The paradox is that territory which occupied by Armenia internationally recognized all countries, including United Nations, all other organizations, as an integral part of Azerbaijan. Karabakh plus 7 adjust regions. And that's why question is not in the legal part of that. The question that those, Armenia, who violated international law should punished, should enforce peace to the peace, should bring to the table in order to restore the international law. That's really very important and paradoxal situation. Azerbaijan today is fighting for the territories which internationally recognized as an Azerbaijani territories, not as an independent part, not as a dispute part, but as an internationally recognized part of Azerbaijan. And that's why international community playing a little bit double game. In this case, they try to invite both into the negotiation process. But we under occupation, and Armenia has occupied Azerbaijani territories. And that's why to find so-called peace without justice, that would be very difficult. That's why Azerbaijan tried to restore justice and then, together with all international community, discuss the peaceful resolution of the conflict.
Samad Seyidov, thank you so much for joining us there from Baku. We greatly appreciate it.